we're going to be making lotion. We're going to be taking you through it step by step. The first step that we're going to do is we're going to fill our sink full of very strong bleach water. Everything, no matter if it's clean, well, actually pre-wash it. So everything goes in there with Dawn antibacterial detergent and bleach. Everything gets bleached. You want to put out paper towels and you want to put everything out on those to dry. Then it doesn't matter if they completely dry, but it's good to let them drip good. Then you will take 91% alcohol, hang on, in a spray bottle, and you will then spray everything down and dry it with paper towels. The alcohol makes contact with the water and it causes you to be able to get every bit of water out of your containers. And then you want to sit those not under a ceiling fan and in a clean sanitary area on top of your paper towels until you're ready to use them. And it's sort of good if you can do this ahead of time and leave time for evaporation, okay? Here is an example. We've just washed this pot. It has a residue of water in it and we've added alcohol. See, it doesn't have the shiny appearance of any moisture. The alcohol causes the water to be completely removed. Okay? All right, then we're going to set our jars out, and I've got a little clip showing you exactly how to take care of your jars. Okay, I have my jars here, fresh from the plastic bag. I made sure that I had alcohol with my hands. We keep 91% alcohol in a spray bottle. Now I'm going to get over the top of them and I'm going to spray them. Then we'll let that evaporate, and then these jars are ready for the lotion to be added. All right, and then after we've taken care of our jars, let them sit over there and evaporate. Then we're going to measure up all of our oils. All of your hard oils will go in a double boiler and be melted. All of your liquid oils, that means they're liquid now, they don't have to be melted, will be measured and put into another container of the sanitary containers. Every time you touch something that is not sanitary, you must rewash your hands and re-alcohol your hands, okay? All right, so you will put your liquid oils in one container. You will put your hard oils in a double boiler. If you're using stearic acid, and I know you'll be using emulsifying wax, you'll put those together into a pot. Those don't have to go into a double boiler, but if you overheat them, they burn. If you let them cool down too cool before you add them to your lotion, you just have little knobs of stearic acid and emulsifying wax floating all through your lotion. So they have to be warm and melted when they go in, your oils, for emulsification. All right, so the first thing you will do, get your liquids all in one bowl, your hard oils and your stearic acid emulsifying wax on the stove, double boiler, stearic acid in a pot, and your emulsifying wax in a good thick stainless steel, maybe copper bottom pot. Those you will heat gently, slowly, because we don't want to diminish their values for skin by overheating them. And while that's happening, you're going to measure up your glycerin and vitamin E, your preservative in separate little containers, and any other ingredients that's needed. I will be adding a recipe ingredients at the end of the video. Right now we're going to talk about safety, safety, safety. We must keep our hands clean. Now there's two rules of thumb. Put on gloves. But then when I put on gloves and I touch my face, I don't feel it. I forget that I've done it. I don't realize. So I just keep scrubbing my hands and alcoholing my hands in bleach water and Dawn dish detergent is how I wash. And then alcoholing and using paper towels constantly through the process. Because if bacteria is in your oils and lotion when you put your preservative in there, It's already got something it's got to fight right there. So we want to make sure that there's no bacteria or germs goes into our product. So another example of that is when you have a brand new bottle of olive oil, that's what you want to use to make lotion. Not one that you've poured back some into when you were measuring to make soap. You want to have a brand new block of shea butter, brand new container of cocoa butter if you're using it. You want all your liquids to be fresh bottles that have not been opened and possibly poured back into, or they're 3/4 of the way down. You want fresh, in-date oils that you're just opening up. We cannot have bacteria when we're working with lotion. Everything as sanitary as possible, as fresh as possible is the way to go. All right? Okay, so now we're gonna get to the process of mixing it all together, but I do want to talk to you about your water. When you're boiling your water has to boil for at least 20 minutes. If there's going to be evaporation during that process, so you want to put way more than what you need to boiling so that you'll have the right amount when you get ready to measure. And even in the pot, when you're measuring it into your lotion pot and you're going to make lotion, I always put a little bit extra, because once you put it in, you can just see the steam coming up, carrying your water away. So because of evaporation, I always add just a little extra to my water pot. All right. Let's start making lotion. Okay, so now we are measuring the water into a bowl sitting on a scale, and we're measuring out how much we need. Our bowl will not hold all of it. If you can see the steam from evaporation occurring as we speak, so that means water is dissipating from our bowl as we're adding it. So get that to a flat ounce. So that's 40.1. We'll throw the 0.1 in for our extra. So we write down 40. So now we'll dump that into the lotion making pot. Set it back on our scale. And so now we have 80 in our pot. And we need how much?
160.
160. So as you can see, she is measuring to 40. And by doing a flat amount, it's just easier to do on a calculator. So she's going to go up to 40 each time. There she goes. She's going to write down 40. I'm going to add 40 to the calculator because we can't clean this because it's my phone. So now we have 120. All right, so we need 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So we need 40 exactly more. And then we're going to put in 2 extra ounces for evaporation.
Okay. So 42. 42.
Yep, 42. And that's because we're using a large batch. If you were using a small batch, you would add less extra. All right, we have our melted oils. They are warm. We have our liquid oils. They are room temperature. We have our vitamin E and our glycerin and our 2 preservatives that I use. We have our water over here in the water pot, and we're ready to go. Okay, the first thing I'm gonna add is my hot oils. Being careful, I've kept these on low, on the stove, on warm, excuse me, once I got them melted, to being sure, checking with a thermometer, not to get them too hot, so that I don't diminish their skin properties. Then the next thing is our room temperature oils. If you are doing a liquid oil only recipe, you need to heat these oils, but because the water is warm or hot and the oils are hot, there was no need to heat these oils. All right, now we'll need the stearic acid. I've kept it on the stove on low, warm, once I got them melted, because it goes back to a hard state in seconds. All right, you will pour that in, and there goes lotion. Sit it back over there on the stove, but off of a hot eye. And turn that eye off. Now, if we look now, we have little floaties of oil floating on the top of our surface. See those? Sometimes you have to add more emulsifying wax than you originally thought you would need. If that happens, you just add a little bit at a time until you get it fully emulsified. But you also have to process this with your stick blender for a good period of time. And so it wasn't time to be watching and waiting for unsaponified or unemulsified oils. Okay, now we wait. We're going to wait, and as this cools, we're going to keep an eye on the temperature, but as this cools, we will watch this for temperature. And we want to get it down to 160 degrees for our essential oils and 140 degrees before our preservative goes in. Now, I'm using unrefined organic shea butter and unrefined organic cocoa butter. Sometimes you will have things that will float to the top, like little husk particles and things of that sort. So this is a good time to get those out as well. So as I'm watching for the temperature, I will watch for things like that as well. Okay guys, I'm gonna bring you in. It might be difficult for you to see, but there is some floating oil. Cocoa butter particularly is one that's very difficult to work with for full emulsification, okay? So I've added 1 ounce of stearic acid, and see how it goes back to a solid, very easy, I think. Let me pull this back now. Okay, right there, it's going back to a solid, so you have to be really cautious with this. But you can't overheat it, it burns. Alright, I like to definitely have my stick blender on it when I'm putting it in to already made lotion. for the bulk of it not to go flat to the bottom. Set that on an off eye. I've added an extra ounce. If you're doing much smaller batches, of course, it would be much smaller amount. All right, we will measure our temperature again. We're well under 160, so we could add our essential oils at this point. Right here is 140, and we're sitting right on it. We're not going over, so we're ready to put our preservative in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that step. Okay, so now we're going to add our vitamin E and glycerin after the temperature has been brought down some, and I just like to not put it in when it's super hot. And I use paraben and formaldehyde free preservative. I try to keep things as natural as possible. So germ prevention, because I'm not using what's considered a full broad spectrum preservative, trying to go more natural. I'm not using a preservative. I'm just not using one that is acid rain to most of us. And that's me specifically. I break out. Okay, now I'm going to add my essential oils. Okay, we're under 160, and now we're going to add our essential oils. I'm using turmeric in this one, so it's going to turn my lotion yellow. Being very cautious with how much turmeric you use if you use it. Giving things a thorough beating with your stick blender. Did you see that last little drop that fell out of my dish? All right, giving everything a thorough blending is very important. Okay, so now we're going to fill our pour spouts. Okay. I bought these from, you can get these from Amazon. I forget where I bought these, and then somebody told me you can get them from Amazon. I like to use something with a handle that I can hang on the side, because I'm going to fill this and then hand this over to be take it from that side so it won't drip on our clean dishes over there. All right, and for us to start filling our containers over on the other table, but then I can just hang that and it's waiting on me for when I'm ready to refill more.
Start filling.
So there you go. Don't leave any in there because it'll start thickening. Okay. So we're tilting, slowly bringing it back to level and going all the way to the fill line. Okay, now to prepare our lids. We're going to prepare our lids on a clean surface that has been bleached and alcohol and dried with paper towels. Fresh paper towels, just opened up the plastic off of the roll. Cleanliness is next to germ-free lotion. All right, so we're gonna get them like that. We're gonna take our pump bottle and we're gonna mist them just like that. And then we're gonna set them to let that evaporate and air dry. Okay, here is our beautiful creams all laid out and ready to go. These will sit overnight here on the table. Don't add the lids. If you add the lids, moisture will come up and get on the bottom of the lid and then fall down on top of your jar and you'll have a water layer. So they need to sit overnight until room temperature, and then you add your lids, alcohol your jars, and add your labels. All of these jars are 4-ounce jars. I don't make bigger than 4-ounce jars because I use a more natural preservative. If you want to use a broad spectrum preservative, then you can do larger jars. Okay, I got just a little bit of the cream from the bottom of the container. This is my night cream, so this is heavier than my day cream. Of course, 100% natural when it comes to no preservatives that are full broad spectrum with formaldehyde and parabens, and no Vaseline petroleum fillers, 100% oil, that kind of thing. Okay, so this is our heavy cream. It'll take a little bit to soak in. It'll lay on the skin just for a few minutes before it soaks in because it's meant for really dry skin. I also make a day cream. I'm going to give you the recipe for the day cream. Okay, we are on wholesalesupplisplus.com. This is their batch calculator. I'm hoping this video comes out good off of my screen. I'm going to print the recipe and also add that clip to the actual gist of the paper. So if you can't read this, we will add that in a moment. So I talked to you the fact that we were going to do the day cream recipe. So when you first get on the page, this is the Wholesale Supplies Plus batch calculator. You will add the name of your recipe. So this is day cream. Okay, then we want to add our ingredients, and we have shea butter, coconut oil. Those get melted. The olive oil can go in without being melted as long as you have melted oils you're adding in. So at room temperature olive oil, we have our water, then our vitamin E and our glycerin, our stearic acid, our emulsified wax, our preservative that goes in at 140 degrees, so I wrote preservative 140, and essential oils that go in at 160 degrees, so I wrote essential oils 160 just as a reminder for y'all guys. And then we have here, it shows you that we have managed to put in enough numbers to make it all the way to 100. You can add notes as into what essential oils you added or any of the cooking or tips that you need, to remember. All right, so we have our shea butter at 4%. This is a light day cream. You would increase the oils and decrease the water to make this a heavier lotion. So we have 4% shea butter, we have 2% coconut oil, and we have 2% olive oil. Well, let's say you'd like to add avocado right here, and take a point from your olive oil, since it's a liquid oil, and add it right here. So then you'd have 1% avocado and 1% olive oil. On your water, it's 75.4. Excuse me, 75.4. So the reason we do that is because on our vitamin E we have 0.3, and on our glycerin we have 0.3. That equals up under the ounces category at being 0.3 on your scales. Now, if you would like to decrease the vitamin E or increase the glycerin or vice versa, you would make sure you put your point in, or you're going to end up with a whole 1%, which is too much. Do your point here, change it, and then just decrease or add to the 0.4 on the water. Remember, we are adding slightly more water, slightly more water than's called for because of evaporation, just a little bit. All right, so then we're going on down to our stearic acid. We're at 2%. At our emulsifying wax, we're at 9%. Now let me discuss that with you. Every company has a different percentage of emulsifying wax required to emulsify oils. So I buy mine from Soaper's Choice. If I use cocoa butter, sometimes I have to increase it to 10%. So, but I know that I have seen on, I think, Brambleberry, an emulsifying wax that it only required, I think, 4% to emulsify oils. So, you know, I might be wrong on that. It's been a long time. But I do know that different companies have different, you know, how much is required to be used to emulsify your oils. Remember your step to wait and watch for floating oils to rise to the top that did not get emulsified. Blend well, in case you didn't blend well good enough the first place. If it happens again that they float up, add more emulsifying wax while it is hot. Your preservative, 1%. I do not know of a preservative out there that requires more than 1%, and some of them only require 0.5%, but you will find a lot of wishy-washy answers as to how much preservative you should use on a particular product. They'll say, well, it depends on your recipe. It depends on your recipe. I have found that 1% always makes me happy and always takes care of everything. All right, on essential oils, 160, I have put this in at 4%. 4% is safe for everybody but children and pregnant women. So if you wish to use 2%, it's considered safe for children and for women. Depending, of course, then too on the type of essential oil you use. If you add peppermint, of course, we're not going to put that on babies or fragile skin or, you know, blah, blah, blah. Especially, you know, 4% peppermint would be too much too. You've got to limit that. That's just too much of a irritant, a skin irritant. Same thing. You don't put citrus essential oils in here. Lemongrass is not a citrus. My favorite ones is rosemary, lemongrass, lavender, and tea tree. That's my favorite ones in lotion. And I add more lavender than I do lemongrass. I add just a little bit of lemongrass, and because lemongrass is overwhelming. Rosemary is about a middle of the road. It's not as weak in scent as lavender when it comes to sticking in your lotion, but it's not as strong as
Lemongrass. Lemongrass is very overwhelming and will overtake the smell of your soap. Tea tree can only be put in at 1% in a lotion because that's all that's safe if a person rubs it over their entire body, and a lotion is meant to rub on the entire body, and even if you're selling it as a facial lotion, people might rub it all over them, so stick to 1% unless you want to put warnings on your labels. All right, so 1% is all that's safe for tea tree, for something you're going to rub all over your body. Okay, so we've got 4%, 1%, 9%, 2%, 0.3, 0.3, 7.4, 2, 2, and 4. Now, if we wanted to make this a night cream, a heavier cream, we would double the oils and reduce the water. We could also double the vitamin E, double the glycerin, but the rest of this would pretty much stay the same. Okay, but this here now, and on this, on your lavender at 4%, you can add a touch more lavender. It's one of the most benign essential oils. Even if you're doing 2%, you can go over a little bit, you know, with lavender. Okay, so anyway, so now how do we get these things to work? Because if I sit and take out my batch size volume and hit calculate, look at all zeros. Well, let's say you want to make a 4-ounce tester bottle. Hit 4 and hit calculate, and then you're going to want to do it in grams because it's so tiny. Okay, so there you can do a 4-ounce tester jar. All right, well, let's say you want to do 25 4-ounce jars. That would be 100 ounces, and you click calculate. And there you go. We've got 4 ounces of shea butter, 2 ounces of coconut oil, 2 ounces of olive oil, 75.4 ounces of water, 0.3 ounces of vitamin E and glycerin, 2 ounces of stearic acid, 9 ounces of emulsifying wax, 1 ounce of preservative, and 4 ounces of essential oil. So there you go. That's how you do it. That's how you do it now. So now let's just take that and let's print it. Let me see, there's a button for that. Print recipe. And we've got everything here. Where does the print this page? It's not easy. You got to go through a couple of steps. And hit print, and there you go. All right, now if you just wanted to do, you know, 4-ounce jars, 4, 8, 12, 16, you could do 16 ounces. Calculate. You see, you just tell it how much you want to do. What if you want to do this in pounds? Mark it over here in pounds, and now it's going to do 16 pounds. You see, and then there it is. But I like the fact that you can look at it, how much it needs to be, how much you need in ounces, pounds, milliliters, and grams. Because sometimes, like, let's do this here, 100, oh, I've lost my screen. Let's say I'm doing 56 ounces. Let's see if we can get some variance. Calculate. Okay, 2.69. Well, I'm just going to bump it up to 2.7. You see, 675 ounces. Oh, I'm still on pounds. 0.58. Well, I'm going to do 0.6. You know, I just try to even it off to what the scale would do. When it's just too much of a variance, then I look at the grams and I do grams for that one. Okay, so there you go. I'm going to put that back on ounces. Back on 100. I'm going to hit calculate, and there you go. There's our recipe. And I'm going to take and scan this for you and let you look at it.